Barney's face in Half-Life 2 has a long history. In fact, Barney's face is among the earliest used for a character in the game, with its first public appearance being at SIGGRAPH in the year 2000. One of the demos there would use Barney to show the earliest version of Half-Life 2's face movement tech.
That's one less horror in the world. Sorry, Mr. Freeman, I got explicit orders not to let you through without your hazard suit on.
Here's how Barney's face came to be, thanks to the 20th anniversary documentary.
I tried this experiment with putting a grid on Scott Lynch's face and shooting him from the front and the side so that we could get points from this grid in 3 space for the geometry, and we got shots of his texture, and we found a good way to model a reasonable head, of his geometry, and then project the texture onto it, and then abstract it or stylize it enough so that it didn't look totally photographic, but it looked like a kind of a real person.
Occasionally, when somebody hears the history, it will, generate a light bulb, but no, I don't get accosted.
No one's asking you for beers or anything?
No, or buying me beers.
Barney's face remained basically the same through the years of Half-Life 2's development. All the way to release. The first real change would come in Episode 1, where it has been made dirtier to reflect the war zone of City 17. In Half-Life Alyx, just before the big tanker yard, you can find a little room for someone Valve calls the Combine Killer. On the wall of their hideout are tally marks, likely for the Combine kills they have. That tally texture is part of a larger overlay that is mostly unused. While there are some wall stains for what look like vents in it, there also appears to be a bunch of writing. Some of it is in Russian, and is anti-Combine. For these two, one calls for revolution, and the other labels Dr. Breen a murderer. This one at the Citadel says, "We must put an end to this." And this one says, "They are not people." Something echoed in the other phrase written in English, "They're not humans." There also appears to be a scratched out English "murderers" as well. The other English phrases show some of this character on a personal level. It says, "S loves L forever," pleas for the Combine not to hurt them, and asking what is going to happen to them. It seems we also get their motivation with the final English sentence saying, "Don't take my baby." While Half-Life Alyx's ending went through many different iterations over its multi-year development, we have a good amount of information on one particular idea that didn't come to fruition. Thanks to the final hours of Half-Life Alyx, we can walk through concept art by Jim Murray of the Red Door sequence. You'd begin in the vault, among various Combine machines. One set of machines would be blocking a red door. After opening the machines up, you'd be able to open the door up, which would lead you to Shorepoint Base from Half-Life 2. From there, you would go visiting several places from Half-Life 2 and Episode 2, including the Red Barn from the canals, the train bridge on the coast, the White Forest Inn, and the Seesaw Bridge, where you get the muscle car. Each step of this journey would require the use of a red door to get to the next area. From the bridge, you'd go to Nova Prospekt. Some areas appear to retain their enemies, suggesting there may have been combat in this section. At Nova Prospekt, it's unknown where you would go to exactly from here. At the end of this journey, the timeline would sort of collapse in on itself, merging different areas from different maps from the previous games. In the midst of this chaos, G-Man would be on an island of his own, sat at the dinner table of a ruined Soviet-era kitchen. At the end of Episode 1, you and several members of the Resistance end up taking a pair of trains straight out of City 17 as the Citadel is destroyed. Using hammer and noclip, we can see some interesting things about this. The first thing is, where does Barney go on his train? Well, surprisingly, it goes well beyond the threshold of the tunnel and stops and stays near the train line you, the player, take later. Barney's train itself is also called intro train, and has a stopping sound rather than a starting sound. This suggests that it was reused from a completely different sequence at a different point. Gordon and Alex's train was at one point going to be a razor train, based on the entity used for it. Given that the journey out of the city is done by looking back at the Citadel, here is the path it takes looking towards White Forest. As you'll notice, there's a break between the two parts of the track. This is because the track is too long to do in one straight shot. So around here in the train ride sequence, you are teleported to the next track segment. On the map Thunder Mountain in Team Fortress 2, when you get to the third stage, you'll get the opportunity to see a large vista at Checkpoint B. It has a waterfall, a valley of trees, and a sniper literally camping. Sniper has a fire, tent, and several bottles of what appear to be alcohol. In the back is the RV from Meet the Sniper. As with many background NPCs in Team Fortress 2, Sniper does not have pupils. As with all Counter-Strike titles, Counter-Strike Source has a hostage mode. These hostages, though, aren't blindfolded or covered up, letting us see their faces fully. 3 of the hostages are straight from Half-Life 2's pool of citizens, and outside of clothing aren't any different from them. These are Male 05 modeled after Art Min, Male 06 modeled after Sandra Consi, and Male 08 modeled after Joe Cairo. But the final hostage model is unique. This is actually the original model for Dr. Kleiner, being first seen at SIGGRAPH in the year 2000, 4 years before Half-Life 2 and Counter-Strike Source's release. This model was cut sometime in and around 2002, when Valve found the man who would ultimately portray Kleiner, Ted Kort. Oddly, the textures for this original model has the nude Kleiner's name. In Aperture Desk Job, when you come up to Cave's office, on the coffee table before you head in is an open magazine that features 2 QR codes. The code on the left says "Bad Coffee," but the link is just a search. The one on the right says "Hello." The name of the model for this magazine is Peabody Magazine, likely a reference to the co-op character from Portal 2. Near the beginning of No Mercy's 3rd chapter, you'll pass by a gas station and a shipping yard, likely with explosive results. While you can't go into the gas station, this wasn't always the case. Grey Horsefield describes this in the developer commentary.
Originally, the survivor's path forced them through a gas station convenience store and out by these pumps. Due to the path, many players accidentally shot the pumps from close proximity, leading to a premature and seemingly unfair end to their survivor experience. Through a cycle of playtesting and iteration, we ultimately arrived at this layout, which preserved both the life of the player and the spectacle of the gas station detonating.
The retail version of this level still retains some hidden elements from this original path. Inside the convenience store, the ceiling still has its tiling. A decorative overhang, likely where the checkout counter was, still exists. A back room with walls and a floor is still there. And a soundscape which still points to 2 areas are all still here. The soundscape also describes several cut points of sound that would have been in the store.